Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Noah here, breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Monday, December the 2nd. We're going to run through this 6-game slate, talk about some of my favorite plays. We'll take a first look, go position by position, hit on the guys I like the most at each position. Then we will talk about 5 players specifically that I like for Draftkings and then for Yahoo pricing as well. Big announcement before we do get started. I have officially launched my Patreon page, my Patreon site. It is linked down in the description. You guys can check it out. I will also post a comment, and I'll pin that comment so that way it'll show up at the top of the comment section with the link there. I'm going to have a ton of updated NBA content over there. So if you've ever wanted updated content from me, it will be available on Patreon. I will have a written article that I'll post Monday through Friday where I fully break down the slate, give my favorite plays at each position. I will continue to update that article as news breaks. So if like news happens at 5:30, some big news happens, or if there's questionable guys that we're waiting to see on, like we're waiting to see if they play. Once that news comes through, I will go and update that article with some of my thoughts on that certain injury. I'll have that on Patreon. I will also have a updated core plays for DraftKings and Yahoo, just giving my updated thoughts and 5 players that I like the most. I will also make a roster construction video. It'll be a video that will be available to all Patreon subscribers that do select the package that comes with. I will have I have 6 packages available right now. You can choose whichever one works best for you. Just check out the Patreon down in the description. Just see what best works for you. I have packages where you can get NFL and NBA together. I have a starter and an advanced package. The starter package comes with basically just like all my write-ups. The advanced packages comes with extra stuff like the updated core plays, the roster construction videos. I do have a Discord chat as well, where I will be in there throughout the day along with everyone else that joins the Discord and that signs up through Patreon. Just a lot of DFS players going to be in there, including myself. You can bounce questions off each other. If you ever need to ask me questions, I'll be available in Discord throughout the day. I'm not going to be able to answer as many questions like in the comment section now and on Twitter because a lot of my time is going to go into the Patreon stuff and to what I put in Discord, or to the comments I have and questions I have in Discord as well. So definitely would appreciate if you guys would check out the Patreon. These YouTube videos that I upload, I'm going to continue to upload these every day, pretty much Monday through Friday, sometimes on the weekend. But these are first look videos. I record these on the night before, so I'm recording this video late Sunday night around 10:30 Eastern Time. These will continue to be first looks. If you want a lot of my updated content, some of my updated thoughts, then check out my Patreon down below, see what I have to offer on Patreon. Just before we do get started with this video, guys, I definitely would appreciate if you would drop a like always. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. If you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Click that notification bell so that way you get notified every time I upload. And if you have not yet, you can follow me on Twitter. Link is down in the description as well, at DFS by Noah. But let's go ahead and talk about point guard today. So we got Trae Young as our most expensive point guard. He's been priced up quite a bit on DraftKings. He's up to $10,500 on DraftKings. We really only have like 3 top-tier studs on this slate above 10K. We have Giannis at 12K against the Knicks, Trae Young at 10.5 against the Warriors, and then Joel Embiid at 10.3 against the Jazz. So I think given matchups, I mean, Trae Young and Giannis clearly stand out above Embiid in terms of like studs I want to pay up for. This is definitely a slate where there could be a lot of value. There's some injuries, some pretty big injuries we're waiting to see on heading into Monday's slate. So, like on the Charlotte side, there's some injuries here, especially with their bigs. Cody Zeller or Bismack Biyombo started last game for the Suns, but he only played like 10 minutes. He really struggled in that matchup against the Bucks. It was a blowout, but he really struggled. We saw Cody Zeller get 20 minutes off the bench in that game, had 17 DraftKings points. That's not the big news we're waiting on, but it will be interesting to see who they decide to start in that with both centers healthy. If they continue to go with Biyombo, or if they just start, or if they start Cody Zeller. So that's something we're going to have to wait and see on. Also, a pretty big one is on the Memphis side. This is probably the biggest injuries we're going to need to watch. So we do know that John Morant's week to week. He's going to be out for at least a couple weeks, which is definitely going to open up some value from the Memphis side. Also, Jonas Valanciunas, at least as of Sunday night, him and Brandon Clark are both questionable, which is pretty big. That's going to open up a lot of minutes for guys like Bruno Caboclo, who played, I believe, 30 minutes in their last game. He's the stone minimum on 3K. Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to have to play as much as he possibly can as long as he can stay out of foul trouble. So we could definitely see some value open up from the Memphis front court, especially if both Joe Val and Clark are out. And then when we saw with Morant out on Sunday, Tyus Jones started, I believe. He played 25 minutes. He didn't close out the game, which was kind of concerning, but he was still productive in the 25 minutes he played, had 31 DraftKings points. DK did price him up to 5,600. We saw guys like Grayson Allen and D'Anthony Melton both get pretty good run off the bench, and they are still dirt cheap on DraftKings. You have Melton at 3,400, who played 23 minutes off the bench. He closed out the game over Tyus Jones, had 35 DraftKings points. Grayson Allen played 30 minutes in that game as well off the bench, had 22 DK points. Both those guys are still incredibly cheap on DK, whereas Tyus Jones got priced up to 5,600. So there's going to be some value from Memphis, probably both in the front court and the back court, but definitely going to keep an eye on Jonas Valanciunas and Brandon Clark, because if both those guys are out, that's going to open up some great value from the Memphis side that we will talk about in this video. We do already know that Brook Lopez is doubtful, so that could definitely open up Robin Lopez as a value center. Also, we got news that Draymond Green is unlikely to play. He's going to be resting for this game against the Hawks, which is going to open up some plays from the Warriors as well. So we'll dissect all that as we go through each position. But starting off with point guard, you got Trae Young at 10.5. I don't think Trae Young's going to be the stud I want to pay up for, especially because DK priced him up to 10,500. I played quite a bit of him on that Saturday slate. I thought he was way too cheap against Houston. He played 31 minutes. It was a blowout. He had 52 DraftKings points. He was only 8,900, which was way too cheap for Trae Young. They priced him up to 10,500, so, I mean, with the price up, I think I'm going to try and get to Giannis if possible. If injuries shake, like with the Memphis backcourt, or with their front court, if both Valanciunas and Clark are out, that's going to open up a lot of good value, and you might be able to get both Giannis and Trae Young into your lineup. But for right now, I'm going to prioritize Giannis, and we'll talk more about him when we get to small forward. Trae Young's still a really good option, though, today, and if I was playing multiple lineups, I would definitely want exposure to Trae Young. But at point guard, I think this mid-range is where I'm really seeing some plays. So you got like Devin Booker in a good matchup against the Hornets. He's definitely took a hit since Ricky Rubio has come back. I mean, his usage does go down when Rubio is on the floor. We've kind of seen that just the last few games with Rubio healthy. He's played big minutes, but only 45 and 37 DraftKings points. I mean, it's a good matchup against the Hornets, but you're going to need close to 50 DraftKings points for Booker to be like a really good play at that salary. So I don't think he's going to be a core play for me. I'm probably looking to like this lower mid-range, like 7K and below. Devontae Graham at 7,200 I think stands out quite a bit. I like this matchup a lot for him against the Suns. This is a game that does have a pretty high total. Right now it has a 225.5 total, which is the highest on the slate. We don't have totals yet in the Indiana-Memphis game or the New York-Milwaukee game. I imagine that's because of injury news. Or we did get a total on some sites. Some sites have New York-Milwaukee at 220, Indiana-Memphis at 218. But right now the highest total on the slate is Phoenix-Charlotte at 225.5. Phoenix is playing really fast this season. Charlotte, not so much. I mean, Phoenix ranks top 10 in pace. They rank 9th. Charlotte obviously doesn't play nearly as fast. I mean, they rank 25th. So this is a pace-up spot for the Hornets facing the Suns. Devontae Graham firmly stands out at 7,200. He's going to play 36 minutes probably if this game is competitive. He only played 29 minutes against the Bucks last game, but that was due to blowout. They lost that game by like 40 points. So I would expect full minutes from Devontae Graham. I like him quite a bit at 7,200. And then you get to like these 6K guys. I don't really have a ton of interest in the 6K guys. If I'm not going to Devontae Graham, then I think that's where I'm looking to like this upper 5K range. So Alec Burks is a guy that I want to talk about. So he's 6K on DraftKings. We do already know that Draymond Green is going to be out for this game for the Warriors. I want to pull up the usage so you guys can see it. Just with Draymond off the floor, we know Curry's going to be out as well. And then Klay Thompson hasn't played a game this season, so got to take Curry off the floor, got to take Draymond off the floor. Kevin Looney is expected to return for this game, so we'll keep him on, even though he's been out pretty much the whole season, so doesn't really matter. But D'Angelo Russell's going to be out as well, so we'll take Curry, Draymond, and Russell off the floor and see what kind of numbers we get. I imagine your biggest beneficiaries are going to be like Alec Burks, probably Kyle Bowman. So Kyle Bowman's played 389 minutes with Curry, Green, and Russell off the floor. Only an 18% usage rate, only 0.81 fantasy points per minute. I mean, the numbers aren't going to look good because this is just not that good of a team. You do have 259 minutes of Alec Burks with all three of those guys off the floor. He has the highest usage rate besides Jacob Evans with just a 1.5 minute sample size. I'm not really taking that into account. Burks has the highest usage rate, 23.3%. Just him and Pascal are about the same in terms of usage rate, averaging 0.91 fantasy points per minute. I mean, if you project him for 36 minutes here, he probably projects for mid-30s in DraftKings points against the Hawks, a team that is starting to pick up the pace. They rank 12th in pace. We saw towards the beginning of the season, the Hawks were actually sort of a slower pace team. They've been playing up in pace just these last few weeks, last few games. So it's a really good spot for some of these Warriors guys. I mean, the Warriors are so thin right now. These guys are going to have to play big minutes regardless of if the game is competitive or not. Both of these teams are not very good, so I imagine it will be a close game. Right now, it's just a 5.5-point spread, so we're definitely going to be targeting some Warriors today. I do like Alec Burks quite a bit at 6K on DraftKings. I think where I have the most appeal on him is over on Yahoo, though. He's at $22. He's one of the better price shooting guards, in my opinion. Like Booker's at 34, Mitchell's at 34, Levine 31, Graham 26. You got Burks down there at 22. I think it's close between Graham and Burks, who is my favorite shooting guard. I'm going to lean Burks just because I expect his usage to be really, really high with Draymond off the floor. He's going to have to take a ton of shots. We've seen this season when Draymond has missed. I believe Draymond sat out that game against Utah. He had 42 fantasy points, played 34 minutes. Draymond's missed other games this season. I think he missed that game against Memphis. You had 42 fantasy points from Alec Burks. The volume's going to be there. The usage should be there. They really have no one else. He's probably their best scoring option. It still feels a little bit too cheap on Yahoo at $22. Tyus Jones on DraftKings at $5,600. I have some interest in. I don't think he's going to be a core play for me, like a smash play. At $5,600, you need him to get like 36 DraftKings points for him to be like a really good play at this salary. I don't know if he projects for 36 DK points here. Like, that was a really good matchup against Minnesota. This is definitely a tougher matchup today against the Pacers. It is concerning that he only played 25 minutes and he didn't close that game out. I mean, I believe Jarrett Culver closed that game out for the Timberwolves. Jarrett Culver is a pretty big guy. I think he's like 6'5 or 6'6. So I guess it makes sense that they use Melton to defend Jarrett Culver. I feel most nights Tyus Jones is going to close out over Melton, at least while Morant is out. So he's the point guard I want to go to from the Grizzlies. I have a lot of interest in him though over on Yahoo, though. I mean, that's where he's the most appealing. He's only $10 on Yahoo. He's minimum salary. They didn't price him up. He's going to be a core play for me. He's really hard to avoid on Yahoo. Like, if I'm playing 10 lineups on Yahoo, I don't want to say he'd be in every single one, but it'd be close to that. He's really hard to avoid at $10. There's a lot of good point guard plays today, but Tyus Jones is definitely one of the best ones on Yahoo at minimum salary. Where DraftKings priced him up to $5,600, I don't think he's like a smash play by any means. I think Kai Bowman makes plenty of sense for a little bit cheaper. I mean, Bowman's $5,100. He's going to be the starting point guard with Draymond out. He's going to play huge minutes because they have no one else. We've seen Bowman put up pretty big games this season. His usage, like so far this season with all three of those guys off the floor, isn't incredibly high, but still, he's going to have the ball in his hands a ton. He's shown that he can score, especially when he's making shots. I mean, that game against OKC, I believe Draymond was out that game. Bowman played 39 minutes, had 43 DraftKings points. He's only $5,100 against the Hawks, a bad defensive team versus point guards. Trae Young's never been that good of a defender. I like Kai Bowman quite a bit, and I think he's the guy that I want to go to between like him, Burks, and Jones. I think I'd save the salary, play Bowman, but I will update you guys over on Patreon with my full thoughts on that point guard situation once I'm able to dive deeper into it on Monday. But for value at point guard, I mean, there's not much I like unless you want to take a shot on one of the Memphis guys. Like I said at the beginning of the video, we did see DeAnthony Melton close out that game over Tyus Jones. He is still really cheap on DraftKings. He's $3,400. He played 23 minutes in that game, 23 minutes, had 35 DraftKings points. I don't expect Melton to close out the most games. I expect it to be Tyus Jones. It's more likely going to be like 30 minutes for Tyus Jones most nights and then like 18 minutes for DeAnthony Melton. So for that reason, I don't think Melton's going to be a core play for me, but there's definitely some upside here, especially like if Tyus Jones gets in foul trouble or Tyus Jones isn't playing well. I mean, if Melton comes off the bench and starts making shots, there's plenty of upside for him. It's really intriguing that he also contributed with the peripherals in that game. Only shot 20% from the field, only had 9 points, but was able to chip in with 8 assists and 7 rebounds. Nearly had a triple-double in just 23 minutes from Melton. Much tougher matchup here. He's still really cheap. Not going to be a core play for me, but definitely a guy I would want to have exposure to if I'm playing multiple lineups because I think there's at least some upside there. I think Grayson Allen's point guard eligible. Let me check that real quick. Yeah, Grayson Allen's point guard eligible, so he's another guy we need to talk about real quick before we move to shooting guard. So he's $3,200, and he played 30 minutes in that game against Minnesota. I wanted to look up the rotation, but as I'm recording this Sunday night, the rotations weren't available on Popcorn Machine. Let me check, see if they're available now. I don't think they are because they haven't updated with Sunday's games. Yeah, which kind of sucks. I'll probably be able to dive deeper into that on Monday once we get the updated rotations on Popcorn Machine. I wanted to see like how or who Melton or who Grayson Allen subbed in for and how he got, like, if he closed out the game or not. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't play any NBA on Sunday. I wasn't watching this game. But I guess it's very intriguing to see that he played 30 minutes and only had 22 DraftKings points, but the minutes were there. he's still incredibly cheap on DraftKings. So both him and D'Anthony Melton are going to be guys I have my eye on. I don't think they're going to be core plays, but I will give some of my updated thoughts on that whole situation, like I said, over on Patreon in my article. But now moving on to shooting guard and looking at the shooting guard position, don't really see myself paying up here. I mean, you got like Booker, Brogdon, Levine, Mitchell. I don't think any of these guys are going to be core plays for me. If we get a lot of value from Memphis, this is definitely going to be like a stars and scrubs slate for me, where I'm probably playing Giannis and Trae Young if I can get there. Don't think I'm going to be going to these mid-range guys, but maybe I'll dive deeper on Monday and kind of see something that sticks out. But they don't stand out as core plays right now. Looking at the 6K range, you got a lot of guys I've talked about that I like here. I mean, you got Burks at 6K, you got Tyus Jones at 5,600. Tomas Satoransky's definitely been playing well. I should have mentioned him back at point guard. He's been getting good run just the last few games. He's played 35 and 30 minutes the last 2 games, had 41 and 30 DraftKings points. I like him a ton on Yahoo. I mean, he's still really cheap over there. The only problem is he is at point guard. He's $13 on Yahoo. There are so many point guards on Yahoo today. I mean, you have Trae Young you can pay up for at 46. You got Brogdon at 32. But there's like the value here is just so good. I mean, you got Kai Bowman at 17. You got Satoransky at 13. You got Tyus Jones at minimum salary. I believe D'Anthony Melton's point guard. He's minimum salary. So it's really tough. I mean, I have a feeling a lot of my Yahoo lineups are going to have probably two, if not 3 point guards in them. Definitely probably be playing like a point guard in my util in a lot of my lineups because there's a lot of value at that position. Satoransky's way too cheap on Yahoo. It's just so is a lot of other guys, including Tyus Jones, who I do like a little bit more. You can definitely play Satoransky on DK though. 5,300 against the Kings. He's just been playing really well lately. The usage has been there. Seen a lot of usage, or seen a pretty big usage bump just the last few games. He's been playing really well with Otto Porter out. His minutes have been a lot more secure, which is something we didn't see at the beginning of the year. The minutes have been secure for Satoransky, so he's firmly in play at 5,300. Also like Dillon Brooks quite a bit, and I think Dillon Brooks is going to be a pretty big beneficiary with Ja Morant off the floor. We can look at his usage. We can go back to Memphis and look at his usage this season with Ja Morant off the floor. We could take Valanciunas and Brandon Clark off the floor because there's a chance they miss this game, but for right now, let's just take Ja Morant off and just see what we get from the Grizzlies this season. So you got, let's see if I can find, where is Dillon Brooks? So you got 115 minutes this season with just Ja Morant off the floor, 27.2% usage rate for Dillon Brooks, averaging nearly a fantasy point per minute. He's probably going to play like 32, 34 minutes if the game is competitive. He probably projects for 30 DraftKings points here. The projection probably goes up if you get Valanciunas and Clark out. So Dillon Brooks is firmly in play at 5,200. Like him, Jones, Satoransky, Burks, I like all those guys in that 6-5K range. All those guys stand out as pretty solid plays today. But talking about value at shooting guard, there's really not much unless you want to take a shot on the Memphis guys, Grayson Allen and D'Anthony Melton. I believe both those guys are shooting guard eligible. Let's go ahead and run through small forward, though. This is definitely a position I have a feeling I'm going to be paying up for Giannis quite a bit today, especially with all the value that we have. You got Giannis at 12K on DraftKings. He's at power forward on Yahoo, and he's $58 over there. I mean, he's my top stud on Yahoo as well. So it's really hard to not like Giannis on a slate where there's probably going to be a lot of value. You could argue that he's really expensive, but I mean, as long as this game is going to stay competitive, which obviously is a big question. I mean, right now this game has a 16-point spread. There's a chance this game blows out. Giannis only played 20 minutes in that game against the Hornets due to blowout. I mean, he still put up 45 DraftKings points in 20 minutes. Even if he gets like 25 minutes, even if the game does blow out and he only plays like 25 minutes, he still probably projects for at least high 40s, low 50s in DraftKings points. I mean, his numbers this season are just absolutely insane. We can pull those up real quick as well. Just look at Giannis's usage so far this season. Chris Middleton has come back, which is definitely going to take a hit on Giannis. I don't think Middleton's really been playing huge minutes. I can look that up real quick. I'm pretty sure he's still like coming off the bench as well. Yeah, just the last few games since his injury return, he's played 19, 23, and 16 minutes. So it's hard to project Middleton to see him playing a ton of minutes. Giannis is still the best or like the highest usage player on this team by a large margin. He's played 645 minutes this season, has a 37% usage rate, and is averaging 1.83 fantasy points per minute. Giannis is a great play today. There's probably going to be a lot of value. Might as well pay up for one of the highest upside, highest floor plays on the slate. So love Giannis. I think he's a lock and load today. Definitely going to try and get him and another stud into my lineup if the value opens up. But let's just talk about some other small forwards now. You got like Ben Simmons, Buddy Hield, Kelly Oubre, Bogdanovich, Parker. I don't think any of these guys are going to be core plays for me. I feel like if I'm not paying up for Giannis at small forward, I'm probably going to like this mid-range, looking to some of the guys that we have from the Warriors or the Grizzlies. Like you got Eric Paschall at 5,600. I think Eric Paschall really stands out on DraftKings. His numbers definitely see a spike when you take Draymond Green off the floor. It's a great matchup against the Hawks. We know he's going to play big minutes. He's another guy that's had really big games this season with Draymond off the floor. I like him a ton on DraftKings at 5,600. Definitely stands out over on DK. He's a very solid play on Yahoo as well. He's $21 at power forward. You could definitely plug him in over there. But we're going to talk about some centers that I like on Yahoo, which is going to keep Paschall out of the 5 for Yahoo. But still, if I'm playing multiple lineups on Yahoo, I definitely want exposure to him. On DraftKings, though, he really stands out at 5,600. Him, Dylan Brooks, I feel like are really strong plays. Even Jay Crowder as well. We saw Jay Crowder have a really solid game last game. 31 DraftKings points in 33 minutes, had a double-double. Just a really solid game from Crowder. He's going to see a boost with Ja Morant off the floor. There's just more shot opportunities to go around. And if Valanciunas and Clark miss, those are two of the better rebounders for the Grizzlies, so there's going to be rebound potential as well. So I'll definitely have my eye on a lot of those Warriors and Grizzlies at small forward. That's probably where I'm looking to the most at this position. Don't really see myself punting with any value plays, just at least looking at this slate the night before. So let's go ahead and run over to power forward now and look at this position. You got Domantas Sabonis, most expensive power forward at 8K. I have some interest in Sabonis today. I don't think he's going to be like one of my top studs to pay up for. Like right now, I'm kind of leaning going Trae Young and Giannis if possible. So it's probably going to be hard to get Sabonis in there as well. But I do like this pace-up spot for him against the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are playing pretty fast this season. They rank top 10 in pace. They rank 6th right now. The Pacers are a very slow-paced team, so this is a pace-up spot for them. They rank 23rd. So definitely going to have some interest in some Pacers guys. Sabonis is probably my favorite guy to look to. But still, like I like so many other power forwards today. Like I love Giannis. I love Paschall. I love some of the Memphis guys. We're about to talk about Rashawn Holmes, who I like a ton in his matchup. So Sabonis probably won't be a core play, but he definitely would be a guy I would have my eye on if I'm paying up at this position. Rashawn Holmes, though, is the guy that I want to talk about the most. So he's 6,500 on DraftKings. He's really fairly priced on Yahoo. He's at the center position, which kind of sucks, but he's really cheap at $20. Feels very underpriced for this matchup. This is a matchup that I've been targeting all season. Centers against the Bulls, it's the best possible matchup. I believe the Bulls, just in terms of DVP, are allowing the most fantasy points to centers this season. They're a really bad rebounding team. We saw what Hassan Whiteside did to them on Friday night. Hassan Whiteside had like 50 DraftKings points. I believe he got 10 blocks in that game. I think he had a double-double as well. Just a monster game from Whiteside. I could easily see this being one of those monster games from Rashawn Holmes, where he gets like 20 and 10 with like 4 or 5 blocks, puts up 40, 45 DraftKings points. Like that game he put up against the Wizards where he played 36 minutes, had 16-10 with 4 blocks, 43 DK points. Could easily see a similar performance from him today. I just love this matchup for Holmes. He's a very productive center when he's on the floor. He's probably going to play 34, 36 minutes if the game is competitive. Love Rashawn Holmes on DK and on Yahoo. Definitely one of the standout plays just looking at this slate the night before. Jaren Jackson is for sure someone I'm going to have my eye on, especially if both Valanciunas and Clark miss. I'm going to probably have Jaren Jackson as a core play. I'll keep you guys updated on Patreon once we get that news on Monday. I'll give my full thoughts over there, but definitely have some interest in Jaren Jackson today, especially if he's going to wind up like starting at center. Last game when Valanciunas was out, Brandon Clark started at center, I believe, or they ran Clark and Jackson alongside each other. I believe Clark started at center. He got hurt in that game, and so that led to Jackson only playing 19 minutes because he fouled out. I mean, he was still productive in those 19 minutes. That's obviously a concern with Jaren Jackson Jr. is the foul trouble. I mean, this guy has serious foul problems. Just like in his last, I don't even know how many games this is, last 10 games, he's fouled out 3 times in his last 10 games. So that's obviously a concern, but the minutes are going to be there as long as he can stay out of foul trouble, just with how thin this Memphis team is in their front court. So definitely have interest in Jaren Jackson today. In the 5K range, there really isn't much that stands out to me in terms of core plays besides the guys like I've already talked about, who Jay Crowder I'm going to be probably targeting today. Brandon Clark I will have some interest in if he's able to play today, especially if Valanciunas is out. Only played 10 minutes in the game that he started with Valanciunas out, but that was because he got hurt. I believe I can't remember what kind of injury it was. Left hip soreness is what it says. So there's a chance he sits today. If he sits, then we will talk about Bruno Caboclo, who's a really cheap value play, who would probably become one of the best value plays. But Clark, that's an injury that's really big to watch that we're going to have to keep our eye on. You'll probably see a guy like Amari Spellman pick up some minutes today with Draymond off the floor. He's 4,500 on DraftKings. It is a revenge game for him against the Hawks. He did play for the Hawks last season. Take that for what it's worth. I mean, Spellman's shown like he can be productive when he gets the minutes. I mean, I don't think he's going to be a core play for me because DraftKings did price him up, but I would at least have him in my player pool if I was playing multiple lineups. I think the guy we definitely need to talk about, though, at power forward is Bruno Caboclo. So he's minimum salary $3K. In that last game with Jonas Valanciunas out, with Brandon Clark getting hurt, and with Jaren Jackson fouling out, he got 29 minutes from Bruno. He played 29 minutes, had 36 DraftKings points, had 12 and 13 with an assist and 3 steals. It was just a really productive game from him. If we get Valanciunas and Clark out, I would imagine that Bruno probably starts at power forward, and then you'll see Jaren Jackson start at center. I mean, he's going to be so hard to avoid at 3K. Like, he's going to be incredibly popular, but he probably projects for almost 30 DraftKings points in 30 minutes if those guys are out. Like, he'd be a lock and load value. I will have my updated thoughts on that situation on Patreon once we get like the injury news on Monday. Once we get some news throughout the day, I'll update you guys in my article. Right now, though, that's going to be one of the biggest injuries to watch is what happens with the Memphis front court, because if we get no Valanciunas, no Clark, love Bruno Caboclo at minimum salary. He's a top value play. But let's go ahead and run through center real quick just before we end the video. So you got Joel Embiid at 10,300. Tough matchup for him against the Jazz. He's not going to be a top play for me on this slate. I would much rather play Trae Young for only $200 more in a much better matchup against the Warriors. I like getting up to Giannis if possible, even though he's really expensive. There should be enough value to do so. So don't really see myself paying up for center like at all on the slate. I think there's good mid-range plays here. There's a lot of value here. In the mid-range, I talked about Jaren Jackson Jr., who I like a ton today. We do know that Brook Lopez is doubtful for this game, which could open up some value. Miles Turner is a guy I want to hit on, though, in this mid-range. I think he really stands out against Memphis for only 5,700, especially if Valanciunas is out. That's going to be a much easier matchup for Miles Turner, whether he's guarded by Brandon Clark or whether he's guarded by Triple J or Bruno Caboclo. It's a pace-up spot for the Pacers as well. So 5,700 for Miles Turner, he definitely stands out. But I want to talk about Robin Lopez. He's 4,400 on DraftKings. So Robin Lopez got the start last game against the Hornets with Brook Lopez out. He played 24 minutes and had 33 DraftKings points, had 13, 6, and 4 with 3 blocks. He was just very productive overall. This is a guy that has shown he can be productive when he gets the minutes, like just going back to his time with the Knicks. Even if you give him 25 minutes, which is probably what he plays if this is a close game, he only played 24 minutes in that game. I'm not sure if he played in blowout. I probably need to check that on Popcorn Machine. Let me see if that's available. See if he did play in the blowout, which if he did, I mean, that's obviously a concern. Let's see if I can find it right here. All right, it's right here. So let me look at the game flow real quick. So Lopez started that game. He did not play at all in the hold on, let me see. He played a small stint in the fourth quarter. He checked out like halfway through the third quarter, came in like halfway through the fourth quarter, just played a small amount, played like 2 minutes and then subbed out. So he really didn't play in the blowout. I mean, right here he was already at like 22 minutes probably. So he had already played like 22 minutes halfway through the third quarter. So he was on pace to probably play 30 minutes if the game was competitive. I like this matchup a lot against the Knicks. This is a Knicks team that does play big. They have Julius Randle. They have Mitchell Robinson, Taj Gibson, Bobby Portis. They have 4 bigs that they give minutes to. So I imagine Robin Lopez is going to have to be on the floor as much as he can. He really stands out on both sides. I mean, he's really cheap on DraftKings. He's only 4,400. Really cheap on Yahoo. They didn't price him up enough. He's still $11 over there. I mean, it's going to depend on what happens with the Memphis guys, but right now, I really like Robin Lopez, and I think he's going to be a core play for me on both sides, even with the price up. Especially like on DraftKings, like if we get Bruno as a value, you can play Bruno at power forward. You can play Rashawn Holmes at power forward, so that still leaves you a lot of flexibility with how you construct your lineup. But I think that's really what I'm looking to at center for today, guys. I think we pretty much covered everything. These kind of my first looks at the Monday night slate, just kind of like my first 5 core plays that I see. Like I said at the beginning of the video, guys, if you want some of my updated content, if you want some of my articles, or if you want access to my articles, my updated 5 plays, just my updated thoughts on the slate once injury news drops, check out my Patreon. Link is down in the description. You can just see what I have to offer. You can see the packages I have available. If you have any questions with the Patreon, with the content I'm providing, you can message me over there. Patreon does have a messaging system, or like always, you can message me on Twitter. Link is down in the description for my Twitter, or you can leave any comments or questions in the comment section. But thank you guys so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, hit that notification bell, and follow me on Twitter if you haven't already. Good luck tonight, guys. Hope to see you over on Patreon, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.